Coming up, AIDS is real, Susan B. Anthony just won't listen, and the best place to spend 13 years in Los Angeles. I'm Jesse Joyce, this is Next Week in History. November 5th, 1872, in defiance of the law, suffragist Susan B. Anthony votes for the first time and is later fined $100. This money goes directly to purchasing brooms and oven mitts for women who knew their place. Susan B. Anthony made sure our daughters had rights under the law. And years later, her great-great-granddaughter Casey made sure her daughter was right under the lawn. That's a thinking joke. In 1903, Teddy Roosevelt wanted the United States to build the Panama Canal, but Colombia wanted too much money. On November 3rd, Roosevelt convinced Panama to proclaim its independence from Colombia and got his wish. Roosevelt was actually so good at manipulating brown people, he considered changing his name to Christianity. November 2nd, 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson concludes that the American people need a more positive story about the Vietnam War, though the best thing he can come up with is traffic is down. November 4th, 1970, Jeannie, a 13-year-old feral child, is found living in Los Angeles, California, having been locked in her bedroom for most of her life. After spending 10 minutes in downtown LA, she requested to be locked back in her bedroom. November 4th, 1918, World War I, Austria-Hungary surrenders to Italy. 80 years later, Italy surrenders its integrity to Olive Garden. November 7th, 1991, Magic Johnson announces that he's infected with HIV and retires from the NBA, embarking on a new career as an immortal. Magic broke so many records in his life. The all-time NBA playoff assist record, the most single game points for a rookie record, and the longest living celebrity with AIDS record. It's the most impressive AIDS record since the Freddie Mercury solo album. In 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik II. On board is the first animal to enter orbit, a dog named Latka. Upon seeing this, 10-year-old Mitt Romney was very upset that they hadn't strapped the dog to the outside of the shuttle. The Soviet Union's communist ally North Korea was particularly outraged and chalked it up to the Russians once again being wasteful with food. In 1964, Washington, D.C. residents are allowed to vote in a presidential election for the first time. Then in 1995, when they re-elected crack-addicted prostitute customer Marion Barry, the rest of the country considered revoking their voting privileges altogether. And in recent history this week, on November 7th in 2002, Iran bans advertising of American products, making an exception for Axe body spray. November 5th, 1940, President Franklin D. Roosevelt is elected his third term as U.S. president. It's not that Americans loved him so much, it's just that he was stuck on the second floor in the White House and they hadn't installed any wheelchair ramps. November 5th, 1945, Colombia joins the United Nations. The UN then spends the next 3 weeks locked in a bathroom telling each other how fucking awesome they are.